In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful, we give him praise and thanks for his mercy and his goodness to the human family. If all the trees upon the earth were pens to write with, and if all the oceans were ink, and then another 7 oceans to add to its supply, the writing would still not be enough to explain the glory of God, for he's the exalted, all-powerful, all-wise. He is one. And even if I live to be 1,000, it still will not be enough to thank God for his many blessings and gifts. So this is Brother Shareef with the Hour of Power. Go to Hour of Power, Shareef Hamid on YouTube, subscribe and share. I thank those who have been doing those wonderful things for the channel, subscribing and sharing. That's how we keep it going. And that's how we continue to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people in many different variety of ways. There's no one way to do anything. So before we get started with this deep message tonight, I want to just let everyone know about what's coming up on the channel. Tomorrow, November the 20th, Monday, November the 20th, I'll be interviewing Dr. Antoinette Brown out of Washington, D.C. The sister just got her doctorate in business leadership and organization. She has a master's in psychology. So we'll be talking about the mental health crisis with our people in our community, how to address mental health, how to get treatment for it, and how to address those things so we can live a long, happy, prosperous life. And she'll also be talking about hiring practices as it relates to business. So this is Dr. Antoinette Brown, a beautiful young sister out of Washington, D.C. So that's tomorrow, November the 20th, Monday, 7:30. On Facebook Live for those who are friends with her and friends with me. And I will put this on my YouTube channel if someone misses it on Facebook Live. And then of course, we got a power pack interview November the 25th with Brother John there in York, Pennsylvania, November 25th, 231 South George Street, there in the community room. Big ups to his daughter, Amina, for securing that place for us. Big ups to our brothers who's helping out. What we got planned there, Brother Collins, Brother Alafia. We're going to be talking about economic empowerment and creating opportunities for ourselves and for our youth, so we can try to change what's going on there. And before I go any further, let me make this clear. The Hour of Power is not a religious channel. It is a channel designed for social awareness and social change and networking businesses for economic empowerment. It's not a religious channel. And sorry for my passion and me having this quote unquote kind of attitude with this, but I have to address this. Do you know some Negro had the nerve after I simply sent this brother, if you want to call him that, a flyer letting him know what we're doing there on November the 25th in York to empower anyone, but mostly our youth, because they're the ones suffering there. You know, he had the nerve to come back and say, I'm not participating in no black power stuff and no racist program. What racist program are you talking about? Number one, the Hour of Power, again, is a social awareness channel to bring social change. It's not a religious channel. You talking about that's not the way you teach Islam. It's not a religious channel. Number one. Number two, how can I be racist? How can any black person be racist? Every time a black man or black woman wants to empower his people, either through knowledge or business, we're looked at as being racist or this black stuff. But when Chinese empower Chinese, that's business. When Italians empower Italians, that's business. When Mexicans want to empower Mexicans, that's business. But when a black man, a black woman is bold enough to speak out against the oppression that's been afflicted upon us for years and years since we've been in this country, now all of a sudden we're being racist. It's not business anymore. Negro, you have lost your mind. Number one, you're not going to speak ill of my brother John like that, because when you made that false narrative and false statement, he wasn't nowhere around to defend himself. Talking about this black power stuff, and why all you do, Brother Shareef, is talk about black stuff. Oh, really? You see all this melanin here? I talk about black stuff because I'm black. Just like Chinese people take care of Chinese business and Mexicans take care of Mexican business. You are no more Muslim than me because you run around with a beard or your jolly beard and all that. That isn't what makes you Muslim. Okay, so again, this isn't a religious channel, but I open up the channel with a quote right from the Quran. If you ain't been paying attention, obviously you ain't been paying attention to the channel. I've talked about mental health, substance abuse, alcohol abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, that it can empower anyone. Islam means the truth. It means peace, but it's many different ways to come up with the truth. Please, wake up, Negro. Now, sorry for that, but I had to get that out. This is not a religious channel. It's about social change. I know my purpose in life, what God wants me to do. Do you? Now, on November 30th, we have another wonderful sister, Dr. Patricia Crisp. She'll be taking on a topic called healing trauma. That's November the 30th, Facebook Live, 7:30. That's Thursday. Dr. Patricia Crisp will be talking about healing trauma, about the trauma that Black people suffer. Sexual abuse, physical abuse, and neglect. And she's going to talk about healing the trauma, a topic that is very needed in our community so we can be well. So that's Dr. Patricia Crisp, November the 30th, 7:30 Facebook Live, and I will also make sure that gets on my YouTube channel. Now, tonight, and big ups to Brother Shemel with the Moore Science Temple. He did one of the most powerful interviews I've ever done last week when he was explaining the Moore Science Temple theology. So again, our power is very versatile. We don't just come down one lane. We try to open it up to help our people as much as possible and to bridge the gap and to be versatile. Now, tonight's topic is called the opioid epidemic, youth having Lazarus parties. I'm gonna say that again. Tonight's topic is called the opioid epidemic, youth having Lazarus, as in Lazarus from the Bible who was raised from the dead, youth having Lazarus parties. I will explain that, and I won't be long. All right, so we got a bad epidemic in America now with the opioid epidemic. I work for a nonprofit institution where we go in the school system. We work with children that have mental problems, behavior problems, but another part of my job is substance abuse prevention. And we go to these different meetings and coalitions and trainings, and it's been off the hook for the last year, mostly revolved around the opioid epidemic. It is a huge epidemic ravaging America. And I was even at a training about a couple months ago at NC State, which is a prestigious college here in Raleigh, North Carolina, even though I'm in Durham. And the governor of North Carolina was there addressing the opioid epidemic. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. He was there addressing the opioid epidemic. Now, there was a white man there on the panel. I'm not sure of his position. And he was talking about how we're at a crisis now with this opioid epidemic, but he didn't see this same alarm when crack hit the Black community back in the 80s. Oh, there you go, Brother Shareef, again with your Black stuff. Yeah, because I'm Black. Yeah, I'm gonna stick up for my people. If you ain't put our people in this position, what would there for me to be to talk about? Okay, so he talked about how everyone is up in arms now. All these meetings, these coalitions, commercials about the opioid epidemic because it's hitting the white community now. The upper middle class and the middle class, their children are dying from this now. So now everyone is up in arms. But this white man said this. He said he didn't see this alarm when crack hit Black communities back in the late 70s, in the 80s. Yes, get this book. The Dark Alliance by Gary Webb talks about how America systematically bought crack cocaine in South Central Los Angeles. You've heard me talk about it many times, and I'm gonna keep on talking about it until we get it, because it's still affecting us to this day. Every Black person in America got a family or a friend that's addicted to drugs, incarcerated by drugs, or even died from drugs, including my family. I've lost a lot of family members behind drug addiction. You can also get this book by Freeway Rick Ross, his own autobiography about how he was hired by the U.S. government to flood the black community with drugs, crack cocaine. There's no telling how many lives he probably damaged by that, but hopefully the brother now is on a mission to reverse that by educating our youth and trying to keep them away from getting into drug abuse, drug addiction, and selling drugs. So again, this book by Gary Webb talks about how America systematically flooded the black community with drugs. Brought Oscar Menace and Danilo Blandon here to spread drugs in Miami. They couldn't do it because of a cultural barrier, and eventually they hooked up with Freeway Rick Ross in South Central Los Angeles, and he started spreading crack cocaine throughout Los Angeles, making $2 to $3 million a week, taking abandoned houses, putting commercial-sized stoves in there, cooking up crack, had prostitutes in there, $2 to $3 million a week, and eventually spread it all up and down the coast, talking about the crack cocaine. And here we have it. Our neighborhoods, our families, our friends are ravaged behind drug addiction. So where was the alarm then? There was no alarm because it was systematic. But now the chickens are coming home to roost. Now America is being ravaged by the opioid epidemic. Look at this. The leading cause of death for Americans under the age of 50, according to the New York Times, is opioid overdose or drug overdose. I'm gonna say that again. This is according to the New York Times. This ain't no article 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They talking about in 2017, the New York Times did this article, and it says the leading cause of death for Americans, black, white, Hispanic, whoever, under 50 is drug overdose. And last year, we lost 59,000 Americans from drug overdose. That's how bad this thing is. 59,000 last year, and the leading cause of death for Americans under the age of 50 is drug overdose. This is totally out of control, and this goes across all racial lines, but it's hitting middle class America, upper middle class America, and even well-to-do Americans. Their children are dying from this. So now it's all over the news. Coalition meetings, trainings, pharmacies are on the lookout now because of this epidemic. Very strange, America. Do you want America to be drug-free or don't you? Because the drugs are still coming in the black community. People are still killing each other. We don't have to do it, but the atmosphere is being set there for us to murder ourselves. Like Furious Styles said in Boys in the Hood, you don't see that stuff in Beverly Hills. It's only here. So I gotta speak on it. That black stuff. Yes. I ain't never kept no one from a job. I ain't never kept no one from getting a house, a mortgage, or a car loan, or education. I don't want to oppress people. I try to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people, and it's more than one way to do it. But it's called that black stuff. That's very interesting. Now, where did this opioid epidemic come from? I want to give you a quick history on how this supposedly got started, because to understand a problem, you got to go to the root of the problem to really understand the problem. Follow me on this and then I'll be done. In 1996, I'm reading from my notes here. I normally don't have notes, but I got notes tonight because I want you to get this. In 1996, a man by the name of Dr. James Campbell, who is the president of the American Pain Society, he pushed for pain to be assessed and put on the same level as the 4 vital signs of when you go to the doctor. So a 5th vital sign was added to the medical profession. I'm gonna say that again. When you go to the doctor, it's 4 vital signs that they check for when you have a regular checkup: blood pressure, body temperature, pulse rate, and your respiratory rate. Blood pressure, body temperature, your pulse rate, and your respiratory rate, how you're breathing. Those were the 4 normal vital signs when you went to the doctor. But Dr. James Campbell, the president of the American Pain Society, pushed for a 5th vital sign, meaning pain. In 1998, following up on his request, the Veterans Health Administration made pain a 5th vital sign. So now when you go to the doctor, it ain't just body temperature, blood pressure, pulse rate, and respiratory rate. Now it's a 5th vital sign, meaning pain. And I definitely have compassion for those who have back pain, joint pain, knee pain, or whatever. Luckily, God has blessed me. Even though I'm a diabetic, I haven't never really experienced any kind of pain, thank God. But the problem with the pain being a 5th vital sign is there's no way to calibrate that. There's no way to register that. Meaning, if someone takes your blood pressure, there's some way to calibrate that. Okay, it's 125 over 80, it's 140 over 90, it's a little high today. And no matter what you say, there's something there to regulate that, to see what it is. There's no way to trick your body temperature. It's a way to calibrate that. It's a way to calibrate your pulse rate and how you're breathing. There's no ambiguity there. It is what it is, but there's no way to calibrate your pain. So if you go in there and you're hooked on prescription drugs, either by habit or by accident, because athletes get hurt and they need to get back out on the field. But if you say you're at your pain level, the nurse asks you, well, where's your pain level, 0 to 10? And you say, oh man, I'm at a 10 today. How can she calibrate how you feel? There's no way for her to calibrate that. So what they're saying is, after 1996 and eventually 1998, when they made pain a 5th vital sign, prescription drug abuse went through the roof. Here's the proof. I always bring my proof. In 2004, just maybe 8 years after this, and sooner, they have statistics sooner, about 600,000 emergency rooms visits were linked to prescription drug abuse. Again, in 2004, about 600,000 emergency room visits were linked to prescription drug abuse. By 2010, that number doubled up in the millions. Emergency room visits linked to prescription drug abuse and overdoses after they made pain a 5th vital sign. Remember, it was only 4 vital signs. All those vital signs: blood pressure, pulse rate, respiratory, your blood pressure, your body temperature. You can calibrate that. There's going to be a number to say, no matter what you're telling us, this is what your blood pressure is, this is what your body temperature is. But there's no way to calibrate someone's pain. Whatever they tell you, that's what they tell you. So this is what they're saying is how all these prescription drugs start getting, prescription drug abuse start going through the roof, because people were saying they were in pain, whether it was legit or not. And then doctors start prescribing all those pain medications, Oxycontin, oxycodone, Percocet, all that stuff. Now, to show you the seriousness of this, I'm going to give you the top 25 cities of opioid abuse. And this is going to blow your mind. The top 25 cities of opioid abuse in America. And I'm going to give you a warning. It's not where you think it is. Again, the alarm being rung about this opioid abuse is because it's hitting white people. It's hitting rural America. So the top 25 cities of opioid abuse. Number 1, Wilmington, North Carolina. And by the way, out of the 25 cities, do you know 4 of those cities is right here in North Carolina where I'm at? 4 of the top 25 cities of opioid abuse, 4 of the cities is right here in North Carolina. I'm in Durham, North Carolina, and the number 1 city of opioid abuse is Wilmington, North Carolina, just about an hour and 20 minutes from me. So number 1, Wilmington, North Carolina. And listen to these cities and locations, and you tell me if you ever even heard of these places. These people are getting it in out in these rural places. Number 2, Anniston, Alabama. Never heard of it. Panama City, Florida. Number 3. Okay. Number 4, Enid, Oklahoma. Number 5, here's North Carolina again, Hickory, North Carolina. Number 5. Number 6, Pensacola, Florida. Number 7, Gadsden, Alabama. There's Alabama again. Never heard of no Gadsden. Number 8, Montgomery, Alabama. Man, they getting it in Alabama. Number 9, Bristol, Tennessee. Never heard of it. Number 10, Tarkania, Texas. Never heard of it. That's number 10. Number 11, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. There's Alabama again. Never, I've heard of that. Number 12, Jacksonville, North Carolina. Number 13, Amarillo, Texas. Number 14, Terre Haute, Indiana. Never heard of it. Number 15, Odessa, Texas. Number 16, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Number 17, Longview, Texas. Number 18, there's North Carolina again, Fayetteville, North Carolina, where all the military bases are. Number 19, Evansville, Kentucky. Never heard of it. Number 20, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Number 21, Elmira, New York. Number 22, Jackson, Tennessee. Number 23, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Number 24, Jackson, Mississippi. 25, Fort Smith, Arkansas. Those are the top 25 cities of opioid abuse. The top 25, and 4 of those cities out of the top 25 is from North Carolina. Most of those places, 22 of those places are rural places in the United States. Not Chicago, not Baltimore, not Philadelphia. Longview, Texas, Evansville, Kentucky, Gadsden, Alabama, Enid, Oklahoma. 25 cities of the most opioid abuse in America. Unbelievable. Now, finishing out, the name of this lecture is called Opioid Epidemic, which I just laid down. Youth having Lazarus parties. Let me click you on to something. Do you know it's a new drug, sort of a new drug on the market called Narcan, Narcan, and then the off-brand name of it is called Naloxone, 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 but the brand name for it is Narcan. Narcan is a drug that reverses opioid overdose. Again, Narcan, Narcan, is a fairly new drug that reverses opioid overdose. All opioids is something that goes to your brain and intercepts the receptors in your brain so you don't feel pain. That's why they give you pain medication. So that's why they call it opioid overdose. It just intercepts the receptors in your brain so you don't feel pain. So this Narcan or this Naloxone reverses it so you don't die. Okay, Narcan, look that up. Awful strange, again, me back on my black stuff, that they didn't have nothing to reverse cocaine overdose or crack cocaine overdose. Now that white America and rural America is suffering from opioid overdose, now they have drugs that can reverse an overdose to save people's life. Very interesting, but life is life, you know. If it's going to help someone, it's going to help them. But that's awful strange. Narcan. So what is happening now with our youth and people who are addicted to opioids and particularly heroin? Do you know they're having parties? Parties where they're taking large amounts of heroin. Let's take heroin. And at this party, it's one person there that is sober. One person there that's sober, and they got this Narcan on hand, so in case you overdose, they can revive the whole party in the spirit, so to speak, of Lazarus from the Bible. That's why they call it Lazarus parties. So this drug, Narcan, you can get a prescription from it from your doctor. If you have insurance, it's about $20, about 2 milliliters or something. You can inject it in the arm by a vessel, or they even have it in a nasal spray now. If you don't have insurance, this drug called Narcan is about $120 to $150. Follow me, family. Youth and those who are addicted to drugs are having large amounts of heroin, and they're saying to each other, we're going to have one sober person at this party. So in case we overdose on our heroin or whatever their drug of choice is, mostly a heroin or opioid, we'll be able to bring you back to life by injecting it or giving it to you in a nasal spray. They're actually expecting you to go. But just in case you overdose, we got something here to bring you back to life. So it's really nothing to worry about. They're called Lazarus parties, like Lazarus from the Bible. When Lazarus was supposedly brought back from the dead, Lazarus parties with this drug called Narcan, again, that reverses opioid overdose. One person is sober at the party, people just drugging it up, and in case you overdose, we got something here that's going to revive you and bring you back to life. This Narcan, or this naloxone. Absolutely unreal. And these are called Lazarus parties. You can look it up. So family, we have to be aware of what our youth are doing. Be aware of these powerful drugs like Oxycontin, Percocet. Don't take them unless you absolutely need them. This is how people are getting hooked on this. Some people are in pain because of medical conditions and they're getting hooked on these opioids, and it's absolutely ravaging America. Black America, white America, you name it. It's ravaging America. So we're about prevention. If you know anyone that needs help, I work for an institution that deals with substance abuse prevention. If I can't help you, I can connect you with someone who will. You want to catch this before it gets out of control, because these drugs, which intercepts the receptors in your brain, they're very powerful. Anytime something is intercepting something in your brain, it's very powerful. So if you even think someone is having trouble with opioid abuse, contact me, get in contact with a substance abuse counselor, someone to get them some help. And know what your youth are doing, know who they're hanging around. I've done plenty talks about this subject. Know what your youth are doing. So again, the name of this lecture is called The Opioid Epidemic. Youth having Lazarus parties now with this new drug called Narcan that reverses drug overdose. And they got the drug there on hand in case someone overdoses on heroin or another drug. So again, this is Brother Shareef with the Hour of Power. I hope you learned something from this. I always have my references. Get this book, The Dark Alliance by Gary Webb, talks about how America systematically brought crack cocaine into black communities, and it has been ravaging us ever since. Well, we all got a family member or friend has died from drugs, that is addicted to drugs, or incarcerated from drugs. And then Freeway Rick Ross, I got a good opportunity to meet him this past summer. Him and my good brother Echo, they were here in North Carolina, and I met the brother in person, Rick Ross. So he's doing some great things to try to keep our youth off of drugs and give them opportunities other than selling drugs, so they don't destroy their life and destroy our community with these drugs. We got to stay away from the drugs, whether it's crack cocaine, heroin, and certainly this opioid epidemic, which is ravaging America. So this is the opioid epidemic, youth having Lazarus parties. This is Brother Shareef with the Hour of Power. I hope you learned something from this lesson in this talk. Assalamu alaikum to my Muslim family. Praise the Lord to my Christian family. Hotep to my Black conscious family. Shalom to my Hebrew Israelite family. And what's good to you to my people in the streets. This is Brother Shareef with the Hour of Power. Subscribe and share the channel. I greatly appreciate your support. Sorry for my little fire in the beginning, but I had to get that out there, and I'm always going to defend my brothers. So please tune in to the Facebook Live video interviews that we have coming up, and a powerful interview coming up with Brother John on the 25th and Dr. Patricia Crisp on the 30th, and tomorrow, November 20th, with Dr. Antoinette Brown on Facebook Live. This is Brother Shareef. I leave you in peace as I came. Assalamu alaikum.